Yeah, I'll say a couple of things there. First, that's sometime in the future, not the immediate future. So, and the future can stretch. So it's sometime in the future, but not the immediate future. I'm a fan of renovation. I like actually classic, traditional spaces that are modernized. I went to college, the buildings looked the same I went to lecture there many years after I'd been there, and it looked the same on the outside, and then inside it was all redone and new with electricity and everything. So I think that's a good thing. Now at Palmerine in Oxley, we're spending $80-ish million, great big project, purposely refurbishing buildings from the inside out. So whenever that is a practical option for us to be able to increase the functionality and efficiency of a building and maintain classic, some of its classic form, we love that as an option. And we don't tend to, I don't think, of replacing things until they have outlived their useful life and are likely to be in the way or a hazard or something else like that. So we would not think about that replacement unless or until it was necessary. And I will say that's not the immediate future. So we'll know more about that when it gets time.
But the general idea is that it will be demolished rather than renovated.
Yeah. So you're asking what the decision will be when we make the decision, and there's not a decision yet. So it could be. I know that the plan called for this to happen relatively soon. I think it's now not going to be that soon, and so we'll see how we are as we move along.
Right. Okay. And then moving along with framework, with Buckeye Village, there is that downsizing, by 18% of the family housing units there.
Yeah.
With the Cavelli Arena, is there a plan to relocate or make up for that lost space?
Yeah, actually, I think the plan will be to have even more space over time. So,
okay.
So we're interested in student housing being affordable and efficient and environmentally friendly, and so in the construction that requires the space is starting soon, but we'll have an RFP soon for people who would be coming to us with opportunities for us to partner with them to build new space.
Right, an RFP?
Request for proposals.
Okay.
So what we would do is say, gee, we're thinking about doing this, and then we'd say, we'd love a partner in helping who comes with the best proposal to do that. And if we find a good proposal, we say, great, that's our partner. But we'd like to, so in fact, I think we're going to put that out sometime soon.
Right, and that was, I guess in the short term, that was a sacrifice you were willing to make, that, the Cavelli is going to take up some of this space. I guess could you speak on kind of the decision making that goes into,
Sure.
Short term, there is going to be less housing.
Yes.
Kind of what, how do you, come to terms and agree with, that that's the best course of action, that you determine that's the best course of action?
Yes, I think that some of these are decisions that are 4 or 5 years old now, so that there's a particularly construction and capital planning takes years. So the capital planning for the development that's going to take place in that space, where we have older buildings that are difficult to maintain, that was done. The replacement options haven't been decided yet, but as we speak, I actually looked at something today that's specifically moving to have that moving along. So in one scenario, we could have done the replacement first. That didn't happen, but the replacement is being thought of really actively as we speak.
Okay. And then one more on framework, and then we'll bounce back to Sally.
Yes.
As the university is going through this expansion, or these proposals for expansions, is that related to any goals to increase the class size or the student body size of the university? Is that something that's also in discussion?
Yeah, I have a different thought, and these are discussions that I would have along with the board, et cetera. What we would like to do is to improve the efficiency of the university. So I don't know that we would grow class size per se, but if we can help to improve our retention and graduation rates, then we would have more people at the university without the class size being bigger. We just wouldn't have, there wouldn't be as many people who would stay longer than the time to degree would get to be shorter, closer to 4 years. So my expectation is that we will continue to do things that make us more efficient and effective, and without growing the class, so we can create more opportunities without growing the class size so much.
Right.
Topic you talked about, let's say the university address was, of course, the November attack on our campus. So what, in regards to the response to the attack, what was learned on a university level and a personal level?
Well, I mentioned, you asked me earlier about values and decisions and things that come up. I say, gee, there are lots of little ones that you don't see so much, that happen all the time, and then every once in a while there's one that you see. And I'd say with this very, very tragic series of events, we had learned a couple of things. The first thing that we were able to see was, had our enhanced and improved communication system, had our communication system been enhanced and improved as we had fully intended it to be. And we think that it was. We had a much better communication with those entities that needed to be informed, and parents and students, and this worked much better than a year or two ago, and so we felt that our enhanced communications facilities and procedures worked better. We also had a response platform that we had practiced. We'd done tabletop exercises and dry runs and scenarios to try to make sure we were doing things the way we thought we should. And thankfully, in this case, those things all worked about like we would have wanted them to. So we felt that the practicing and the preparing for some untoward event was worthwhile because we had our procedures and policies in place. We felt that the orientation that we had provided for students was useful because our students were behaving as we would have wished that they would behave in uncertain times, and so that all those things worked well. We have been, since this event, looking at the event to see what we could do better going forward. We, again, would hope that there's never another event, anything like this, but we want to learn and see if we can't tune it and make it, if something untoward happens again, natural disaster, whatever, that we're able to respond even more effectively next time. So it's a continuous improvement process.
So I guess moving on to affordability.
Yes.
So in April of last year, you guys announced the tuition freeze, and I think it was the 5th year in a row that
Yes.
tuition was frozen. So what are those discussions, I guess, related to tuition freeze for this upcoming year?
Yes.
Looking like now, and can you guarantee another one? Or is...
Yeah. So let me just say that so the cost of going to college is a whole series of things. The tuition is used as the kind of placeholder for everything. So tuition high, low, college, affordable, not affordable, and it's just not that simple. There are many things that go into college affordability and college quality. And so what we want is for our colleges and universities to be affordable. And what we like within that is tuition that's set at an appropriate level. We had a great partnership with the legislature 2 years ago. And the legislature said, gee, we think we can increase SSI by the largest amount. They didn't say it quite that easily, but we talked that they would increase their support of our university by the largest amount in roughly a decade. And that then allowed us to go forward, continue to invest in quality and affordability with the same tuition that we'd had in the past. 5 years starts to get to be a long time for there to be no even gentle, slight inflation. So if every cost goes up and revenues stay the same, you start to erode something. And I don't want to say this in the wrong way. What we want is something that's incredible value at an incredible price, but we don't want to erode the quality. And so we want to maintain quality, and we look carefully at all of our funding mechanisms to make sure that we maintain quality, and that's really important to us. Affordability is a part of our framework. We care tremendously about affordability. So as you know, we increased our need-based aid by $15 million 2 years ago, by $20 million last year. We'll increase by a larger amount coming forward, regardless of what happens with tuition. So we look at tuition as being something that needs to be appropriate and affordable. We look at that in partnership with the legislature to make sure that the university is supported at a level that lets us continue to ascend in the ranks of the best universities and the best values in universities in the country. And then we look at our aid to make sure that our aid grows at a rate that allows us to make sure that we're even more affordable next year than we were last year. So we will be more affordable, we believe, next year. That's our goal. And we'll work carefully with our partners downtown to make sure that we can do that by modulating all of those things that would cause charges to go up. Let me back up a bit and say earlier we talked about all of the things that are going so well for us, our best graduation rate in history, our highest retention rate in history, our increase this year in diversity, including we'd had several years of African American student decline. That's been reversed. We're very pleased about that. All of those kinds of things, the faculty quality and success of our faculty in bringing in resources, all of those things contribute to the value of our university and our reflections of that. So we want to increase the value of the university and continue to increase affordability, and that's the daily work.
Great. So at this point, do you think you could say one way or the other that there's either going to be a continued freeze on tuition, or of course we're talking about in-state undergraduate, or the other, or is it like, is there going to be a freeze or not be a freeze? Can you say it at this point right now?
We know more about that really in the late spring, and when we first made an announcement about this was probably April of 2015.
Right, yeah.
So that's because we can get an idea of what our funding sources are going to be. So we just don't, what we want to do is to not compromise the quality of the university, because we know that affects the value of your education. As we do that, we want to make sure we make it more and more affordable. What I can tell you is that we're going to increase the need-based aid that we had last year by a minimum of $2 million this coming year. We'll know more about that in the spring time. So that will increase, and so at least I can tell you that. That's something we do first. Maybe we'll be able to even do more, but we'll know more about that this spring.
Right. It's a fun phrase to say, regarding President Donald Trump. Getting into the thick of it, students have staged a walkout last semester. There were protests this weekend. A lot of them traveled, hundreds of miles to Washington. Yes. To join in, the Women's March. What kind of conversations are you guys having on the top level, about, being in university leadership during, I think what we can agree on is a time of social unrest.
So you use the term top level. I don't know what tell me more what that means.
Well, I guess among you and other administrators and kind of that, people in the higher positions.
My university president colleagues, or those, or people here on campus, or both, or.
I would say both.
So we see our job as doing the best we can to protect the values and principles of the university, and to make us, particularly here at Ohio State, to make Ohio State the strongest university it can be day by day. And to make it so when we talk next year, I can tell you how things are going, and I can say they're going better next year than they were this year, as I can say today they're going better this year than they were last year. So that's our goal. The federal government has a role in that, and so as times change, we have to assess the landscape and the circumstances that we're facing, and then see, given this set of facts, this reality, how do we do our best to help advance the university forward? So we think about that always locally. I work with colleagues, as I mentioned. I work with my predecessor here in other groups, and we all then work together to try to help determine how policy, federal policy, national policy can affect things that are important to us. We've all joined together in two organizations. I happen to, I think some of you know this, but I'm chair-elect of one and chair of the Council of Presidents of another of these large organizations. And in both of those roles, we've written letters, for instance, on DACA students, to write to the administration to reinforce the incredible journey that these students have had to get to where they are, what great contributors they can be and have been traditionally to our university, and how important we think it is to make sure that they know that this pathway to being contributors broadly in our society is one that we want to enhance and not do anything to impede in any way. So we share things like that. We work with them on other national policy issues like research funding, and et cetera, et cetera. We work with them on things like making sure that Pell Grants are I would love for Pell Grants to be increased. If you want to make a real difference in society, education is really important, and you get kind of a double bang for the buck as you're able to take someone who's in a low or moderate income family that's not had so many opportunities and give new opportunities to that whole family through a particular individual, and Pell Grants help a lot with that. So we're really committed to trying to increase our support of what things better for everyone, but we want to make sure that we do enough for our middle and lower income students in particular. And I want to make sure I say that right. When I say that, I mean that we want to focus attention on middle and lower income students to give more opportunities there, but we're also thinking about all of our students. That's the point. I want to make sure it's not an either or. So the federal government can help us to lift up both sides of that, including Pell's. Those are some things that we've communicated very strongly with them. The administration that's coming in is unusual. I mentioned how old I was earlier, you know, and that I had many years of doing this before I had a chance to return to Ohio. And I'd say that through all of that time, this is not a more unusual administration than any of the others. It's more different than any of the others have been for themselves. And so we have a lot of unknowns to deal with, and our job is to understand those things, process them, and make it that your experience is better than it was, again, year by year going forward. I mean, really, at this moment.
So another thing that we wanted to talk about, I guess, is another expense for students is textbooks.
Yes.
And I know USG is currently working on a textbook affordability initiative.
Yes.
Has there been any, I guess, communication between them and, I guess, your office and the administration?
Yes.
About how to make textbooks more affordable?
We'd love, I mean, I think that's a great thing. We're very much in favor of that, and have been talking a lot with Gerard and others about the textbook affordability project, so we're very supportive. I teach a class, and all of the material is online, so there's no textbook to purchase for the class. We've worked with our medical school for years, College of Medicine, to have material presented on iPads. I went to medical school many years ago, and many years ago, my textbooks were hundreds of dollars and uncarryably heavy. I mean, big, thick things. I still kept them because I spent so much on, even though the whole new things have been invented, I still have them, these big, thick books. And so we were able to do get a whole lot more information to our medical students by making things available through iPads. And so I think that's a very important thing to do. I use it in my own class because I think it's the right thing to do. And we'd like to move toward, I still have some hard copy textbooks that I've written that are still being sold. I still get royalties of hundreds of dollars a year for those things. That's supposed to sound funny. I mean, that means that they might sell a dozen books or something. The last one was written in 2009. But where we think is the future is to do things that are more affordable and easy for people to get. And so I'm very much in favor of that. Writing textbooks is great fun. It's a wonderful thing to do for a career. So I've written 5. I've really enjoyed that very much. And I learned a lot. It helped me organize things a lot. I hope it made me a better teacher. And it was great to have teachers who wrote textbooks be the ones who were doing the lectures. That was something I always appreciate. I think that's a great thing to do. So I really encourage our faculty to write books. On the other side, we want to make them as affordable to our students as they can possibly be. And so we're doing our best to be good partners there.
Would you say, just going off of that there's, any concrete progress, or would you say those discussions with USG are more up in the air?
Yeah, no, I mean concrete progress. I mean to try to be real. So I have a class that I teach that students spend $0 on 0 cents on textbooks. So I think that's great, and I'd love that we could do that as much as possible. And so there are concrete individual examples of these things happening. Can this be expanded? Different courses have different material requirements, different things are available. So what we're looking at is ways to expand these things even more. And there's that, there's reselling of textbooks. That I say I still have my textbooks from the 1970s, which are still entirely readable, although again, I think they're in the original Latin at this time, but again, that was a joke, I'm sorry, but okay. I'll tell you a joke, yeah, no, I'll just say joke when it's supposed to be funny. But So we'd love to find ways to recycle, reuse, et cetera, and then other ways to use electronic media and other things to make things more affordable for students. And so those are active, ongoing decisions, but there are concrete examples that exist even today, and we'd like there be more of that.
In the spirit of New Year's resolution.
Yes, you're wonderful. Always a segue. Yes, the spirit of New Year's resolutions.
I noticed you have a Fitbit. This isn't my original question.
I
So
like
yeah,
that.
so
Yeah, spontaneous,
all of
innovative.
that. Do you have a New Year's resolution for Ohio State?
Oh, golly. Yes. So really my New Year's resolution for Ohio State would have been what I shared last week with Framework 2.0 and with our vision for what we can do to be an even better and more impactful public research university that really sees our role as a national flagship as being something that gives us great privilege and opportunity, but also carries with it responsibility. We mentioned earlier that we're a part of these different organizations and a part of the American Talent Initiative that seeks to create over the next 10 years or 8 years now, 50,000, nationally 50,000 more opportunities for middle and low income students. We care tremendously about that. We're going to our first meeting in just over 4 weeks. So we care about that. We really care about the University Innovation Alliance that we've been working with, which has seen dramatic increases in graduation and retention rates among some of our partners at some of our sites. We were already up near the top of the group, so we didn't have as much room to improve, but we're getting better as they're also closing the gap. We care about those things. We work really with policy, work with the NC2A on policy in a variety of ways that affect student athletes, but really collegiate policies broadly and higher education broadly. And so we as Ohio State get to be a part of these discussions across the board. And there's really not really anyone else who's in all of those along with us. We have a broader role with small and large universities than many smaller universities don't deal as much with other large universities as they deal with Ohio State, et cetera, et cetera. So the resolution really is to try to understand and appreciate who we are and where we are, what we really mean to the country, what we mean to higher education, but what we mean to the country, and to allow ourselves to take on the responsibility of contributing as much as we possibly can. I find it to be a great privilege, and I want us to make sure we appreciate that and take full responsibility for it and make full use of it.
Sounds great.
And I'm trying to, and I make sure to keep my Fitbit charged. This is probably my 12th Fitbit over the years because I had many of the ones that clipped on, which had a useful lost life. I mean, they lasted for some number of weeks before, where is it? It's I think I left many in the seats of my airplane or whatever else. So the wrist ones last a whole lot. They stay on the wrist a lot longer, and I just have to make sure to keep it charged, and I wear it every day. Okay.
Thank you so much for coming.
Good to see you. Thanks for the questions. Good to have a chance to say hello. Happy New Year. Okay, great.